So we've been talking about, CBD hemp, when we talked about the traditional Chinese herbs and spices that support the cannabinoid system, endocannabinoid system. Now, what happens when you combine them together? When you combine those herbs and spices with the CBD, the full spectrum CBD, is there a benefit of having them all working together as one?
Well, I'll say this, that in our strategy for years, we've always felt like providing a substance directly and stimulating your body's production of it in tandem is amazing. So we call it the exo-endo connection. Exocannabinoids plus endocannabinoid, as Dr. Jessica said. Mimetics is absolutely, I would call it the holy grail of nutritional supplementation. And really at Ancient Nutrition, we wouldn't do it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
As much as full spectrum hemp is amazing, there are so many other botanicals that people need. And due to the fact that we have a limited amount of university research on certain cannabinoids, due to the fact that it wasn't available to the general public, we're able to now combine time-tested and clinically studied botanicals with the hemp and or CBD hemp products. But Knox doctors, your family has been practicing what you call endocannabinoid medicine or endocannabinology, and it's always been in combination or in tandem with what we call classical botanicals that derive from Ayurveda or traditional Chinese methods, correct?
Yes, and Dr. Jessica alluded to it or explained it, and I'll explain it again. Yes, so cannabimimetics are, non-cannabinoid substances, so non-endo, non-exo, and exo can be the phytos or synthetics, right? So non-cannabinoid substances or even practices that mimic the same modulation of the endocannabinoid system that those cannabinoids do. So we've covered a lot of botanicals and the rich terpene content that most of them boast, but we're also talking about yoga and meditation and acupuncture and chiropractic and other methods of manual manipulation of our bodies. Those things stimulate the modulation of the endocannabinoid system too in extraordinarily strong therapeutic and healing ways. So I like to say, the classical ancient healers, they knew it worked. They just didn't have what we would consider the biophysical model explaining how, right? But they were working on that system with all of those substances and practices the whole time. That's what we believe.
Yeah, and I think, Jordan, you have it exactly right, where cannabis is not the end all be all. Cannabis is not like the thing. And that's what our family realized early on, is this is actually about the endocannabinoid system. So certainly cannabis is one of our most potent and direct tools to work on the endocannabinoid system, but we have all of these other botanicals, all of these other practices. And if we want to talk about real healing, we will combine all of these together to have the most optimal effect possible on our endocannabinoid system, right? Because if we're just reaching for hemp, like if we're just like, oh, I don't feel good, I'm gonna use some CBD, that's just using another tool to sort of mask symptoms, right? So we want to talk about how can we use hemp, how can we use these other botanicals, how can we use our lifestyle to really impact and support us in beefing up our endocannabinoid system for optimal function. It's not just about the CBD. It is about the whole package and how we can use that for optimal healing.
When you do all of those things, you need much less of most things. And it couldn't be farther from the truth with respect to CBD too. Just within the plant alone, its entourage effect allows us not to need as much CBD. But same with incorporating some of those cannabimimetic practices. If we're doing, a little of a lot, it makes a significant difference. Whereas if we just, like Dr. Jessica, expressed, just using CBD, and most people aren't even going to get the, optimal benefit of that if they do it alone as well.
I think we need to get some yoga going with some high terpene essential oils being diffused, maybe a little color therapy alongside some music therapy, and then we'll take a little CBD shot right after.
Right.
I want to mention something before we get into what your patients and clients can expect from consuming what we would call full spectrum entourage, or maybe beyond the entourage effect, where we're combining the hemp plant in its best form with powerful botanicals. But I want to mention this, that while everyone in America, from the youngest child to the most elderly adult, knows what a vitamin and mineral is, vitamins and minerals have only had a short history, believe it or not. And if you look at an Ayurvedic or TCM practitioner in America or in China or India, Middle East, etc., you will go and present various, I'll say symptoms, but essentially the ways of diagnosing health challenges or imbalances has nothing to do with the modern medical diagnostic methods. In addition, the recommendations have very little or nothing in common with modern recommendations. For example, if somebody would walk into a TCM or Ayurvedic practitioner, even if they are lacking energy, pale, or even have mood swings, they're not going to be recommended iron or B12. They could have energy disruption. They could have sort of indications of bone weakness, and they're not going to be recommended calcium, vitamin D, or vitamin K. Vitamins and minerals and their discovery is recent. However, these TCM or Ayurvedic practitioners will always recommend lifestyle changes and botanicals. It's not as much about a vitamin or a mineral, it's about metabolites as part of these plants. And so what I want you all to understand, and I'll get the Knox doctor's opinion on this, I believe that vitamins and minerals are critical for our health. Fat-soluble vitamins and minerals are deficient in most people's diets today, and certainly we don't get enough water-soluble vitamins, starts with our food supply. But these metabolites that plants produce, phytochemicals, phytocompounds, in response to environmental stressors to ensure their survival, are far beyond what a vitamin or mineral can do. And so when you look at a full spectrum, entourage, combination exo-endo CBD hemp product, the essence of true botanical delivery, you are getting something that is far beyond and much more ancient than a modern vitamin and mineral supplement. Would you not agree, ladies?
100%.
100%.
You know, I like to play analogies with my patients, and I'm always likening us to vehicles, right? We're cars. We get from point A to point B. And I ask the patient, does it matter what kind of fuel you put in your car? And the answer is always yes. And I'm like, right, you wouldn't put diesel in a regular unleaded tank. And they're like, no, I wouldn't. It would kill the engine. So I say, well, you're a natural whole person. What kind of fuel do you think a natural whole body requires? And they get it right? The body requires natural whole foods to preserve this natural whole body. And really simple analogy, but it seems to turn light bulbs on above people's heads when I say that. It matters that we eat natural whole foods